75. Let's have a look at this name range. So 20 has been named Tom. So if I go here and write is equal to indirect, brackets open, click on this reference text, but this text will refer to this, isn't it? So when we close the bracket and press enter, we should get 20. So the text string returns the reference, and the references are immediately evaluated to display their contents. Now another example and final example. So indirect, brackets open, in quotes B, use the concatenate function and click on this value and close the bracket and press enter. We get 72. Why? You see, in this case the A5 evaluates to 5 and we have B concatenated with A5, so that becomes B5. So the text string now refers to B5, which is this value, and that is immediately displayed. Now we can use the indirect function to create what is known as dependent lists, and it's quite an interesting way of doing it. So before I write the VBA code, let me show you how it is done manually. So the first thing we do is select this data which has departments and employees in that department. We go to the formulas and we create name ranges. So define names, create from selection. So what is our selection? The selection is from A1 to D4, and we have headers only at the top. So we remove this and we say OK, and now names, departments, marketing, admin and R&D have been created. How do you know that? You go to formulas, define names, name manager, and you can see all of them here. Tom of course comes from the sheet 2. I'll close this now. In fact, when I did this, I recorded the macro. The next step I want to do is create a drop-down list for the departments. That means if I click on that drop-down list, I should get these 3 departments. So how do we do that? We know that. So we go here to cell F2, data, data tools, data validation, and in this window called data validation, under settings, in the allow area we say list, and our source will be assigned from the name range departments, and we say OK. And notice these 2 are selected. I have done nothing for the input message and the error alert. So we say OK, and we get a drop down list. So if I click here, you get the 3 departments that we have here. Now in cell G2, I want to create a dependent list. That means if I select admin here, the employees under the department admin should be displayed, so that I can select the one I want to work on. So how do we do that? Using the indirect function, we go to data, data tools, data validation. In this window under settings and in allow, we say list, and here we just write is equal to indirect and in brackets F2 and close the brackets. These are selected. I have done nothing in the input message, error alert, and OK. So now you can experience the magic of indirect. Here under departments we have admin, and when I click here on the drop down list that has been created using the indirect function, I get the people working in admin. Now even these steps I have recorded, and based on my recordings I'm going to use that code and create the VBA macros. So I'll just delete this by going to data, data tools, data validation, and we'll clear all. Okay, so this becomes a simple data. I'll delete this. Similarly, I'll clear this area. Also, I'll delete the names that I created earlier so that I can create them through the VBA code. So I go to formulas, define names, name manager, and delete these names one by one. Okay. So now I've deleted all the names. I've kept Tom. It's in sheet 2. It doesn't bother us. So we'll close this now. And we'll go to the developer tab, Visual Basic, insert, and we'll insert our first module. The first module was to create the named ranges and to get the drop-down list in the cell F2. Okay, so this is my first macro called myDirect, and I've just taken the code from the recorded macro here exactly as I showed you. So I select the ranges A1 to D4, then I create the names by using the top values, then I clear the contents in F2, select F2, and with selection I do a validation, and I get my list using the formula departments. That means this is my name range. From here I get the values for marketing, admin, and R&D. Let me just show you the code on this side. So that's it. And you saw there I had said ignore blank, in cell, drop down true, and show input true. Okay, I've added an extra line of code to clear the range here. So to clear the contents when I select the drop down list. Now I'll go to insert again and paste here the code for the drop down list that is dependent on the value in F2. Alright, so you'll notice in this code it's very similar to the one I did earlier in my indirect. I clear the contents in G2, select it, and then with the selection I do a validation and I use here the indirect function. Okay, I'm going to save this, go to my Excel worksheet, go to the developer tab, and I'm going to create 2 buttons here. So insert 2 buttons from form control. So let me do that here. In the assign macro window, I'm going to assign this button to the first macro, my indirect. Okay, I'm going to change the caption here and call it get departments, because that's what we want to do. Click outside, go to the developer tab, insert, form controls, and I'll take another command button here. And I'll assign this button to the macro my indirect 2. Okay, change its caption also. Get employees, click outside. Now you must be wondering why I'm doing that, why I've segregated the macros. Well, unless and until you have some data here, you cannot display anything here. And if you wanted to put both the macros together, that will become indecently complicated. Okay, so we click on get departments. So you see here nothing is available except the drop down list. So I click on this, select let's say R&D, and then I say get employees. I click on this, I get this list here, and I can work with the employee data. I hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching.